Good afternoon. My name is Bill Stevens, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about what we call people first language. We've heard all of our lives that old childhood song that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Nothing could be further from the truth. And I plan to convince you of that tonight before the speech is over. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about words and the power of words. And I've got a few quotes here that I want to read that try to encapsulate that. It says, "The language we use to communicate with one another is like a knife. In the hands of a careful and skilled surgeon, a knife can work to do great good, but in the hands of a careless or ignorant person, a knife can cause great harm. And so it is with words." Buddha said this. He said, "Whatever words we utter should be chosen with care, for people will hear them and be influenced by them for good or for evil." The last one here. It says, "Dad, dad." It's powerful enough to make a grown man cry when uttered. Words are very powerful and very potent, and they can be like weapons and tools in our hands, and we have to use them for good. Um, one thing, one thing that we know is words. They exert influence and they shape people's belief systems. So words are very powerful, and with that knowledge, given that they are powerful, comes a great responsibility. That we need to use words ethically. We need to use them in the right way. Just because I have the right to say something doesn't mean I should say it. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight as far as people first language. I'm going to move on here to the second part and talk a little bit about my own personal experience. For the last 2 years, I've worked with individuals with developmental disabilities. And I was a little skeptical at first. It was kind of new to me. But these guys and girls really changed my heart. Uh, these individuals, they face social and personal struggles that me or you never have to face. Uh, these guys were dealt a hand, and they're having to do the best they can with it. But I mean, anything from transportation to taking medication to hygiene to eating, interacting socially, they have all these hurdles, and none of them chose these hurdles. They were simply genetic things that they were born with. Uh, so they already have kind of a stack, the hand stacked against them, so to speak. And some people who are ignorant or biased or prejudiced, they use words like retard and mongoloid and a dwarf or midget. Even those terms are just outdated and they're wrong. And so many times we identify people who have developmental disabilities by their disabilities. And this is just wrong. We want to change that and we want to put people first. A person is not their disability. Obviously, the definition of people first language in its simplest form is putting the person first. Um, and this we do not out of political correctness, but out of respect for individuals. Um, it's not an autistic kid; it's a child with autism. It's not a mentally retarded guy; it's someone who suffers from a cognitive disability. Things like that. Let's actually look at a few examples of what we can say instead of the others. It's some of these negative descriptors that are outdated. Instead of saying the person is handicapped or disabled, we want to say he's an individual with disabilities. Instead of saying, oh, well, he's mentally retarded, we want to say he has a cognitive disability or a diagnosis. Instead of saying he's a Down's child, we want to say he's an individual or a child who suffers from Down syndrome. And again, it's not a play on words, but it's a whole philosophy behind it. Because using people first language can truly change the way that you view someone, and that really is our end goal. In conclusion, developmentally disabled individuals should be treated with dignity and respect. We should always use language that builds up and encourages our peers who are suffering from disabilities. Let's remember the truth about that childhood song that we learned. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words used unwisely, that can crush a person's spirit. So let's take what we've learned today and go out into the world and use, when we see someone, an individual that suffers from a developmental disability, Let's remember to put that individual first. Thank you.